vodka.
I'm just drinking vodka.
Just generic vodka.
Not specific vodka.
Vodka.
Not specific vodka.
Not specific vodka. Available to store you.
Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is Colin, and next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
And as always, we are joined by our producer, Richard.
Oh, hoy hoy.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. Well, I didn't show up last week because there was a snowstorm, and I was terrified of dying a terrible, horrifying death.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what? And for the first time ever, revealing like a specific weather event doesn't actually give away our location because there have been crazy snowstorms. Like crazy snowstorms fucking everywhere.
Denmark.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Japan. Australia.
England.
Stop it. That's a great pose, by the way.
Krypton.
For nondescript vodka.
I don't know what you're talking about. If I don't put this in, nobody's going to know what you're talking about.
And in news, Wonder Woman 2 may cast Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. Oh my god, yes, please.
Wonder Woman 2, The Wondering.
Wonder no more.
This time it's Wonder.
I think
It's a comedy.
This time she's a woman.
I think
Still a woman.
I think it's pretty fair to say that I'm generally relatively optimistic about these movies and about things that happen with
But
these
you
ones.
rolled your eyes when I said it was exciting.
I'm not. I don't like this idea at all.
What do you mean, like awkward, funny girl cheetah? I don't
Yeah,
understand.
that's exactly what Cheetah
Help
is
me, I'm
like.
poor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Kristen Wiig has more like
Credits than what you're
well,
imagining?
and more like acting capability than just those like comedic roles that we always see her in. But just based on those, I'm not a super huge fan. I will say that she does kind of have the look for
She's got the look.
for Barbara and Minerva, which is like the pre-Cheetah-ized version of Cheetah.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, performance-wise, like, I guess we just have to trust Patty Jenkins because she did a great job with the first movie,
Patty Jenkins. Sorry,
bringing out all the old
I
favorites.
can't help it.
Classic.
But yeah, I'm actually not super stoked about the idea of Kristen Wiig as the Cheetah.
Would you-
I
would
don't
you
have a good
prefer-
like replacement.
I was
but-
going to say, would you prefer it be like Minions or...
She was in the movie Minions.
Oh, I see.
She was.
Oh, I
no,
thought you
Despicable Me 3. Maybe she was in.
I thought you were
Minions, too.
proposing that instead of casting Kristen Wiig, they would just cast Minions as the
Like-
Cheetah.
like
But,
all of them?
but which one?
Dave,
Yeah, Dave's pretty good.
Kevin,
Kevin's. I like him.
and Bob. I think
Oh yeah,
the little one.
yeah.
Hey, how many of the Minions were men?
All of them.
All
I
of
thought.
them.
Wow, that doesn't seem very fair.
I mean,
that's bad hiring practices. Somebody should get on that Gru guy.
I think that they only are men though.
I don't. I think they're only men.
Hmm.
Twitter, hit us up. Are
What
the
if-
Minions only men, or are they some sort of like agendered species?
I also think that they might be immortal.
I think they are immortal.
Yeah.
Is the idea from that movie?
Well, because they constantly are like in dying situations and never
God.
perish.
But also, doesn't that movie take place like? Doesn't it like start in caveman times, and you just follow the same minions all the way through to like the
I'm so
80s or
sorry,
something?
You guys, I should never have brought this up.
We got a lot of strong feelings about Minions.
Oh my god!
I
this
have,
got out of control
yeah.
Fast.
I'm definitely more excited to discuss the minions than I am for Kristen Wiig as the Cheetah.
Edit point.
Nope.
Oh god.
That's right. You're here for the all Minions power hour.
Good God.
Dr. Minion.
What I will say though is, I mean, anytime a slightly weird casting happens, it's hard to know how it would turn out. I mean, I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure Kristen Wiig has some other like performances to give than the stuff that we're used to seeing. And people said the same kind of stuff about like Heath Ledger, and obviously that Joker is iconic.
That worked out
and-
really well.
So, I mean, that's not to say that every time you cast someone weird, it's going to be a Heath Ledger performance, right? But it
Yeah,
has
you,
the
oh, you,
potential,
yeah, I know, because
so-
I mean, I was really expecting like Sixpence None the Richer to start playing, and like Kiss Me would come on when.
like A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, yeah.
That's honestly what I thought. I was like, the guy from A Knight's Tale.
Wait, what's the song that he sings in 10 Things I Hate About You?
Oh, is it Janie's Got a Gun?
No, it's not.
No, that's no. What does he sing in that? I don't know. At any rate,
The Kitchen gets release date and maybe Melissa McCarthy.
so the kitchen.
What's
is,
a kitchen?
Yeah, the kitchen is a room in your house where
Food is cooked and plates are cleaned.
only those two things, though.
Yeah, that's it.
Food is cooked, plates are cleaned, glasses, different room, buddy.
Just what you
Throw
guys
them
don't
out
have
the window.
disposable pots and pans.
Yeah,
Just crumple them up and put them in the can when you're done.
You don't eat yours?
Yeah, no.
all the finest Dixie pots and pans.
Corel's really delicious.
Generic pots and pans.
Yeah, no name. Yeah, so the kitchen is a like graphic novel series under the Vertigo imprint of DC, and basically the premise is these like 3 mob bosses go to jail and their wives like take over
Love it.
the mob, and it's set in Hell's Kitchen. That's why it's called the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
So
Not a woman weird comment.
no, it's not.
Gets good.
Yeah, that's why I was very quick to jump in there.
Jumping in.
But yeah, it sounds like
Right there.
it sounds like
Get
they've
in the
cast Melissa
kitchen.
McCarthy as one character, and then I guess I think the female lead from Keanu is one of the other ones.
You mean Keanu Reeves?
No, from the movie Keanu.
With the cat.
Keanu.
The
Oh,
gangster
with
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele and yeah.
Yeah. So I think she's.
Screenplay award-winning Jordan Peele.
Yeah, that's right.
Should have been.
Are you really dating this episode?
Well, whatever, dude. Shut up.
That's the
At
sort
this-
of.
Wow, you really just took that one.
At
Jeez.
this point, it could be any time between now and forever. It's still the truth, no matter when we say that.
I guess that's true. Unless it's
So-
next year and they're just like, he didn't win this year.
No, but he is a winner of such.
I
an
suppose.
award.
Okay.
So
Semantics.
Welcome to the Dr. Semantics podcast.
I know we've been here before.
I'm the
but
doctor.
But yeah, so the kitchen is getting turned into like an actual
Turned?
It's getting
seri-
renovated.
Is it a series or a movie? I guess it's a movie with a. Well, no, I
No,
don't
it's a
know.
series, I
Is it a
believe.
series?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's a series kitchen.
that makes more sense. Yeah, it's every time they try to condense like longer stories into single movies, that tends to go poorly. Looking at you, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Ooh,
Ooh.
it bites.
I do love that movie. I shouldn't, but I do.
Ooh.
I do too, to be honest. Yeah.
Guilty pleasure. All right.
First look at Death of Superman revealed, and the crowd goes wild.
I knew you would like the sound of that one. So
I'm guessing he comes back to life though. Or some
Well,
stupid-
So-
Well, this is an old comic.
they had made an animated movie called Superman Doomsday like
Let me
15
guess,
years ago.
Morrison's on this one.
No, he's not.
Oh, good.
But like 15 years ago, they made this movie that was only like they cherry picked bits of the death and return of Superman. This movie, they're doing it in 2 parts, like they did when they did the animated Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be like a pretty true to comics adaptation of the whole death return of Superman storyline, which includes the reign of the Supermen, which are after Superman is killed by Doomsday, then these 4 sort of substitute Supermen come into play, and it's the Eradicator, Cyborg Superman, Steel, and Superboy. But they should all play a part in it. So yeah, we got a first look at this. I'm excited because it's truer to the actual like comic storyline. The Superman Doomsday movie is like fine. It's a fine cartoon, but it's just it feels like it's missing something because it's missing the whole bit of really what happens when Superman is dead. Who like fills the void and
Doesn't
and
it just
what
go
happens.
I?
That's a super Canadian reference. Rain Maida, we know you're listening. Hit us up.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I already did it.
Superman's dead.
Okay.
Wow.
Speaking of dead and super, or I guess that's Batman.
Nope. It's okay.
Famed Batman producer Benjamin Melniker dies at age 104.
Yeah. So
Motherfucker was old.
No,
This
motherfucker
guy-
was a gangster. That's like stay alive forever till you die.
Ha ha ha. He stayed alive.
this guy's
Stayed
really
alive.
an interesting fellow because
He
he
did
bought
survive.
Yeah.
he bought the rights, like the film rights to Batman when no one wanted them.
Yeah.
When they-
Smart.
Because of the 60s Batman, how silly it was and everything like that, it was kind of like untouchable. So he bought the Batman film rights and then he became the producer on like all
He
Batman
became the
movies.
Batman.
He's the one that got Batman 89 like made, with Michael Keaton and Tim Burton directing and Jack Nicholson's Joker in that. Like he's sort of instrumental in having brought back sort of cinematic Batman.
So he's responsible for the bad Batman too. Then
I mean, only in that he had made the movies like happen.
he had to live with that shame for more than 100 years.
But he's the Batman producer.
Yeah.
I think he also has credits on the Nolan Batman and stuff like that.
Really?
I think he does. I could be mistaken there.
I could look it up, but I'm not going to.
But at any rate, I mean, he was sort of instrumental in getting
speculate.
that Keaton Batman movie to happen. So, it's kind of sad news. A little piece of like superhero cinematic
Sad
history
news.
there. Yeah.
Sad news.
Sad news.
Very sad.
Sad news.
Sad.
Oh, so we're in for another episode of just random interjections again.
So, Colin's back.
Hello. Arrow's doppelganger photos released online, and no, it's not a leaked sex tape this time.
This time?
Was it last time?
I don't know. I don't really care. I just thought I'd spice the news up.
Yeah.
And the news.
I mean,
who knows where those arrows have been?
I mean, speaking of don't really care, I haven't been watching Arrow, so I have no idea really where we are in the story of the season.
I don't know. It just looked like a red arrow. That's what.
All I know is that this is the episode where Colton Haynes as Roy Harper, Arsenal, comes back.
Hey, if you guys are liking this new Arrow season, tell us that we should be watching it because
Yeah,
nothing has made me want to.
Because clearly I won't.
yeah. Well, and
I said that right.
No, yeah. That's
I think
how you feel.
we knew that about you though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Colton Haynes, it's kind of he opened up about why he left the show. It's actually quite like unfortunate. He sort of suffers from like crazy like anxiety attacks, and it was like the pressure of like doing this TV show and the big role that he had, and I don't think he had like come out or things like that. Like he had a bunch of things like in his life, and it was giving him all these sort of like stress and anxiety related issues, so he left the show, which is why like Roy Harper, who's a major part of the Green Arrow sort of world, has just been sort of like they had built him up for so long and then he was just absent. They just wrote him out. So it's nice to see him back because it was unfortunate that he had to get written out in the first place, but
Yes, he's back. Back again. Roy Harper back.
But yeah, so that's the Doppelganger episode. Again, I don't know story-wise what's happening, but I think Black Siren is still on that show. So since they killed Katie Cassidy as Black Canary, they brought in her Earth 2 counterpart as Black Siren just to keep her on the show because they realized that they shouldn't have killed her. But
Well, that was nice of them.
But they couldn't just double back and bring her back to life because they had already done that with too many people on that show. So, yeah.
Neil Gaiman announces new
Sorry, who?
Sandman universe line of comics.
Who? Sorry?
Neil Gaiman.
Oh, okay.
Is that not how you pronounce
Is it Gaiman?
No.
Gaiman?
I'm actually not sure if it's Gaiman or Gaiman.
Gaiman.
But either way.
Because we're gaming. No, we like gaming too.
We do.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard the last
You just
episode.
replaced Jammin?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Gaiman.
Gaiman?
Gaming.
I do like Neil Gaiman. So he's introducing the Sandman universe as like an imprint at DC. So it's going to work a little bit the way that Young Animal works. Young Animal is the one that Gerard Way runs. That's the one that's got like Doom Patrol, and Cave Carson has a cybernetic eye, Mother Panic, I think Eternity Girl. So then the Sandman universe imprint is going to not actually be about Sandman and won't be Morpheus, but it'll pick up with some other characters from that universe. They're bringing in other writers, other artists, other things like that to sort of expand that world. So I think one of the stories is about the librarian of dreams. One I think is maybe about Lucifer. There's a couple of other ones too, but they're all sort of tangential to Morpheus the Dream Lord. So this isn't like a Return of the Sandman series, but it's going to further explore the world of the Endless and the everything that Neil Gaiman had sort of built that way.
Neato.
And he's in charge of it, which is cool. So he's like picking the
boss.
people to work on his like the thing he created.
Now on to the Doctor's Polls.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
That actually sounded weirdly rehearsed.
This is what happens when Colin comes back.
Oh, jeez.
Back into
What have you been reading, watching, listening? What are you doing?
what are you reading?
Well, I see what you did there. I just read the most recent issue of Aquaman,
Of course
which
you did.
is the end of an arc called The Crown Comes Down. So they've finally like
All the way
taken
to
down
hell?
this sort of magical force field that the current despot ruler of Atlantis has put up that's
Mhm.
keeping everyone in and keeping everyone else out. They've done that, and Mira has been named the Queen of Atlantis. Like, not with Arthur as king.
Is she the one on the wall?
Sorry?
Mira.
Oh, Jesus. God.
That took me
How
a
could I
second.
possibly keep up with that? No. I really wish I didn't like that joke.
I know you did though.
I'm upset with
It's the
myself,
dad
yeah.
inside of you coming
It
out.
is, yeah.
It's
totally.
guys, you get closer.
I know. What am I becoming? So Mira has been named Queen of Atlantis, but not with Arthur as king. Like, just independently. She's been...
She's
sort
an
of-
independent woman.
Yeah, the sort of council of elders has decided that she's going to be the new monarch, but Coram Wrath is currently still on the throne, so Arthur has gone back to Atlantis to, like, finish it. Now, this story now splits, so we're going to follow Arthur in Aquaman, but then there's a mini-series called Mira, Queen of Atlantis, where you're following her now in the coming weeks and that taking the throne. I haven't read the first issue of that yet, but basically, yeah, that story is now going on sort of two sort of parallel paths.
Are you enjoying it?
I am. I was on Twitter. A lot of like Aquaman fans actually haven't been enjoying this arc because it's taken a very long time, and that's fair. I mean,
Aquaman fans aren't known for their patience, that's for sure.
actually, I'd say the opposite because it's taken so long for people to take that character seriously.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of bandwagon jumpers, man, to be honest.
Well, that's probably true, but
Jason Momoa made a fan out of your mom.
But I don't think that those are the people
You know
who
what I
are.
mean.
I don't think those are the people who are also reading the comic and going, "It's taking too long." I think they're actual like Aquaman fans. But I think you could make the argument that this arc has maybe meandered a little too much. That it could have gotten to this point sooner. But I've been enjoying it. It's a very like political, intriguey kind of book. Like Aquaman is all about these like political machinations. It's very like Game of Thronesian about like who's going to deceive who for what benefit and things like that. It's been kind of interesting that way. So yeah, I really like that one. That was my sort of highlight from this past week. Though I also just picked up the first issue of the new Brave and the Bold, which is Batman and Wonder Woman teaming up, and they're teaming up to help like a Celtic god.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is kind of neat.
I didn't feel like I got
Yeah.
any help this week.
No.
Sorry, you're the Celtic god. Do you know what?
Clearly
As
not.
I was
I got
reading-
no help.
As I was reading the comic, you looked familiar.
Yeah, well, when in Rome.
I didn't even like I tried to watch the new Black Lightning episode,
Black Lightning.
and I'm really not happy with it.
I still haven't seen episode 6.
Well, you wrote a little something online that
Oh, yeah.
that really is ringing true, right?
Yeah, so I wrote online that I felt, and I think even talked about it when
Yeah, a
we
little
first
bit.
talked about this show, that I felt a little bit like James Remar, who's playing Peter Gamby, the tailor,
Yeah.
felt that he was like
Phoning
kind of
it in.
phoning it in. Like he delivers his lines really like woodenly.
If you feel that way, just wait until the new episode.
Like, I feel like in high stakes, but like, is it episode 5 where Tobias Whale comes and actually like visits him?
Yes.
And they have a scene.
And then you're just like,
Tobias
oh,
Whale-
wait.
Tobias Whale's great, and he's like, "Blah, blah, blah," and James Remar just like holds a gun on the table and just goes, "You have to get out of here, Tobias. I told you a long time ago I wasn't gonna have anything to do with you."
It's so bad.
It's like, but like James Remar's not a bad actor, is he?
No.
Like, have we been kidding ourselves?
I mean, maybe, but like in this cast, he just seems terrible. And this newest episode, I just like I can't get on board
Really?
right now. Like I'm having a hard. I haven't finished it yet. Like it's
It's that bad, eh?
it's maybe I'm alone. I mean,
That's a real
critics
shame because
online are reviewing it pretty poorly, so
right.
it's not surprising.
But just him or the episode?
the episode in general.
Okay.
The episode in general isn't great, but like his performance specifically like is very early in the beginning, and I'm just like I don't want it. Like I don't like it.
Yeah. He's I think my biggest stumbling block with that show. In general, I'm still really into it. Like I'm enjoying it, and I like what they're doing with Anessa and her finding her powers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They've got the nod to her like original comic book costume, which is that like ridiculous colored.
Oh my god, yeah. There's some elements of this that I'm really loving, and then other parts that I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time getting through. I started rewatching The Flash again.
Like from the beginning.
Yeah, because I
that
just
first
like,
season is good.
oh, it's so good. But like for me, like I fell off around like right around Flashpoint.
Right.
It was too much, and I didn't have enough background information, and I just felt like I was like, ugh, I can't take this anymore.
Season 3, I think, is the weakest.
Yeah. So I'm coming back on, and I'm gonna fight through it because I know that it gets good again.
Yeah, season 4 has been markedly better. Than
Yeah, and
3.
every critics.
I still don't
and
think it's
otherwise
as
have
good
been
as
saying-
season 1 or 2, though.
No, I mean, but the problem is when you start getting that complicated, I can't imagine what a general audience is, how they're following along, and like, because like they start leaning on towards later seasons, like going like, hey, this character, this character,
There is a lot of that.
this plot point from the comics.
Well, and they start. What I think season 4 has done well on The Flash is finding some of the fun again, because season 3 gets just a little too arrowy, frankly.
Yeah,
a little too like self-serious.
yeah.
Season 4 has found some of the ridiculousness. Like there's an episode where like Harry summons the Council of Wells from like across the multiverse
that's amazing.
to like help him solve a problem, and there's like a cyborg Wells.
See,
and there's,
that's
like,
awesome.
There's a one called Lothario Wells who's in like this like house coat, and he talks like McConaughey.
Oh my god!
He's like,
God, how much fun it would probably to play that actor? Like,
oh yeah, Tom
that
Cavanaugh.
character?
I'm sure
Yeah.
it's in his contract that like I get to play as many fucking versions of this character as I possibly can.
it's so fun. So I'm trying to rewatch it right now because I want to catch back up because it seems like it's getting really good.
Yeah,
I'm also watching a lot of Merlin for anybody who
you
remembers the 2007 TV show.
You have been into Merlin lately.
I'm just saying, if anybody else feels the Merlin vibes, let me know.
Colin, have you watched or read anything DC lately?
I don't know. I watched some pretty decent stuff on Netflix.
No, DC.
Oh no.
Anything nerdy of any sort?
Yeah.
I started watching a show called The Last Man on Earth.
It's a great show.
That's
a good show. It's a great show.
Actually, you're wrong. It starts out really good, and then it gets really dark.
And then it gets really good again.
Now, I actually don't know the answer to this, but is it based on the graphic novel Y: The Last Man?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay. Because
No.
that would have been a crazy backdoor.
No,
Colin
yeah,
actually
that'd be
learning
really
a
weird. No,
comic
no, no.
book kind of thing.
I fell off, probably right around where you're at. If you stay on, it gets good again.
Okay, because I watched.
It gets really funny.
I'm like towards almost the end of it, and I'm just kind of like, man. Oof.
Yeah. Have you gotten to the part where Kristen Wiig is in it?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so it gets better. But I get where you're at. I haven't been keeping up with it lately, but it gets better.
All right.
Anyway,
Oh, wait. No, yeah, I totally am at the
Yeah?
Kristen Wiig part. At the part
Still
with
not
the,
into it?
The bunker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it gets like the first episode. I was like, wow. Okay.
I know that's one of the
This is
best pilots
amazing.
of all time. Yeah.
It's so funny. And then like even most of the first season's really good.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about DC stuff. So let's
Hey,
just talk
It's
about
okay. The
this
amount
week's-
the amount that I talk about Supernatural, it's fine.
There's a lot of supernatural talk.
this week's theme, fate or free will.
Yeah, I would really like to figure out whether like I'm destined to like talk through / over you guys, or if there's any chance of. Yeah, I thought it would be fun.
I guess you'll never know.
Well, yeah. I thought it would be fun if we, in the course of taking questions and suggestions from listeners, if we actually tried
From listeners.
if we actually tried to determine whether or not the DC universe was governed by fate or by free will. So, we'll discuss the stuff that like comes up in the questions. We'll go through it, and
Free Willy. That's
I'll try by the end of this episode to actually come up with an answer. You have the breathy bit of the Michael Jackson impression
So
down.
good.
Oh yeah.
It's perfect.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
I love how you didn't open with thank you. You're like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, duh.
I heard it.
If a Michael
We were both
Jackson
there.
if a Michael Jackson impression was only then you have it.
I can do the moonwalk too.
Can you actually?
Yeah.
Do it for the listeners.
Okay.
Oh
here
my
I go.
god. Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay,
God,
that's
I
not the
don't know.
moonwalk. All right. Let's take some questions.
From listeners like you on Facebook. The Facebook.
To the face and the book going to the Facebook.
Chad Bogelman.
A bogle.
Just a regular guy asking questions on the internet.
To the internet.
Sorry, Chad. As much as I try not to make everything I ask GL,
Do you try?
Theme.
I don't feel like you try.
he put try in very large
Well,
letters.
let him finish.
Okay.
There is a precedent here with this topic too easy to pass up. Hal Jordan is a character who was once quite literally the agent of God's vengeance, meaning he had access to the mind of God. Depending on your view of God, that means he potentially served under the whims of fate and predestination, which is interesting considering he was before and became again a superhero whose entire power is based in his willpower. A take-charge man who would very likely and probably reconcile... Ah, shit. Probably has it...
Okay, sound it out.
Ah, shut your fucking mouth.
Use your words.
And I just did. And probably has, if I took long enough to research, object to the idea of fate. How do you reconcile a definite answer to the question you pose when one of their A-list characters has literally served on both sides of the answer? For the record, I know there are a few assumptions being made here.
Thank
damn
God
it,
the doctor
Chad.
reads these sometimes beforehand.
Fucking questions for days. That was a long one.
Jeez.
That was a big one.
I'm kind of sick right now, so breathing and reading is kind of my nemesis.
And he's already really hard to do for him. It's almost like walking and talking.
Rubbing your head behind your belly.
And I'm totally sober right now, so that doesn't help.
Right. So,
Right.
a few. Well, it's a dense question. There's a lot in there. So, Hal Jordan is the most probably iconic Green Lantern, and like Chad pointed out, that's a power based in his own will. He channels the green light. I can't even
take you seriously right now with those fingernails.
Thank you. He channels the green
doctor has
light
black
of
fingernails.
will. I'm gonna keep
Like a goth girl.
My
Like
Chemical Romance at a reunion tour.
That's right.
I was at a pirate party.
You're the drummer, right?
At least I'm not the bassist.
Boom.
Come on, yeah, though.
Right?
All right.
Okay.
As you were.
Yeah. Am I not interrupting now?
It's really rude of you, to be honest.
Yeah, clearly.
So just do your fucking job.
You motherfucker.
Hey, I did the news just fine. Mostly got through that.
I actually
question.
think I did the news and you just introduced.
And over to sports.
Ooh.
No, come back to me. Hal Jordan.
As if I was going to be able to do that. Like the Eagles, they're a team, right? I don't know why you looked at me. I've never been so scared in my life.
Oh,
I was like, the basketball group, they sure did a championship touchdown.
I could see Richard like going into his head. He's like, I've done improv before.
Sports
There's got to be something.
Yes, and teams.
That was a moment of terror. That was amazing.
You just go into my McConaughey impression.
All right, I'll know.
Oh God.
So, Hal Jordan.
The one and only.
Iconic Green Lantern, and his power is based in will. He channels the green light of will. It's his own free will and determination that actually makes his power work.
Is that like Big Willie style?
It's a little bit like Big Willie style.
Okay.
It's a little
All
less.
right.
It's a little less like Willennium.
Dope.
It's not Willennium, but it is Big Willie style. And after he became Parallax and then sacrificed himself during Final Night to reignite the sun, he died, and then his soul was bonded to the Spectre, which we've talked about before. That is the spirit of God's vengeance. It is an aspect of God. And so Hal then went from being like a space cop that wielded like a sciencey weapon to being in the spiritual realm, where he was in communication with something called the Logos, which was like an aspect of God that was sort of guiding him on his mission as he was trying to redeem souls. And then later, Hal was brought back to life and returned to being a Green Lantern again. So Chad's question is, how could you possibly reconcile fate or free will when Hal has demonstrably done both? He has a power that could only work as free will. And then as the Spectre, he had a power that could only work like through the mind of God, basically. And if a God exists, then there must be some sort of predestination or fate.
Well, like, what if God was one of us, right? Stranger on a bus?
Yeah. He's
Just
just trying to
sob
make
like
his
one
way
of us?
home. I have maybe a slightly weird pull because the mythos of the Spectre has actually been retconned a little bit recently. So in a series called Gotham by Midnight, which takes place in the post-Flashpoint universe, it's Jim Corrigan as the Spectre.
Is that Bill's dad?
You've what? No, Billy Corgan. Oh, I see. Yeah, no. I was going to say you've made that joke before, but the last time I think someone made the joke that it sounded like Jim Gordon because they were both Gotham City detectives or whatever.
They came up in the ranks at the same time.
So Jim Corrigan is the Spectre, and I think it's Gotham by Midnight number 9. Basically, he's
number 9.
He's being interrogated by a couple of other GCPD cops because they suspect that he is tied to some like supernatural murders and things. And as he's being interrogated, he loses control over the Spectre, and the Spectre kills the 2 other cops. And then later, he's kind of like confronting the Spectre. He has like a sort of Gollum
He's
moment.
doing like the whoa bear thing.
Yeah, where he's like talking to both halves of himself,
Spectre,
right?
Whoa.
But he says, "Why would you do that? God wanted them dead." And the Spectre reveals, like, no, you wanted it. It's always been you. So Jim Corrigan has always felt that he would get a sense of there's someone to punish or there's some sort of vengeance that needs exacting. And he always thought it was from God and he would go and do it. But what that issue did was actually revealed that it was just Corrigan's own desires the whole time. So he had the power of God, the power of God's vengeance,
and the fleshy desire of the Spectre,
and just just the fleshy desire of himself, actually.
Oh shit!
And that also slightly explains why a character like the Spectre has never gone after like the Joker, has never gone after like Lex Luthor, people who like there should be some vengeance exacted upon them. Why is God turning a blind eye to them? And the idea is that like the Spectre is still an aspect of God, is you have the power of God to exact vengeance, but that host is doing more than just grounding it. It's actually like guiding it as well. So in a way, I know it gets a little muddy because the continuities are different, because Gotham by Midnight is post-Flashpoint. We don't really know whether or not Hal had ever been the Spectre. I don't think he had in that one, but with Rebirth coming in, who knows like what things will get folded back in. But I think it would be fair to say that Hal is only an example, or not Hal. Yeah, Hal is only an example of willpower, because if we take this Spectre thing into account, then he was in control the whole time.
The whole time.
Like I said, that's kind of...
whole time.
With retcons, it gets kind of muddy, because that wasn't the intention when they were writing the Hal as the Spectre series, but now that that's part of...
Oh, dude, Hal-Al.
That would, yeah, if he went to Krypton.
No.
If he got adopted by...
I was talking about the food.
Oh, halal.
Yeah.
You said Hal-El.
Yeah.
Which sounds like Kal-El.
Kind of.
Okay.
I think it's,
I hope that answers your question, Chad.
The Dr. DC podcast will be right back.
God, I hope not.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you by our sponsor. Go on.
Oh, the sponsor is Great Lakes Grooming Co. Yes.
They sent us some products, brother.
Oh, they're very good products, yes.
Are you Hispanic or Japanese?
I have not decided.
We're both Bane, though, that's for sure.
I mean, you clearly can tell that.
I don't know what you got, but I got the Pine Tar soap, brother.
Oh, very nice.
It helps wash off the filth of Gotham.
Yes, that sounds very great.
It is dirt and bad smells reckoning.
Oh, well, I've got the Beard Balm. Balm.
Hello, third Joel Schumacher Bane.
Yes, not as well liked, but still very great.
Technically canon.
Definitely Bane still. cannot argue with that.
Bane.
Yes, the beard balm comes in different scents, much like much of their products. They have Your Love, Trusty Woods, and Clear Creek Coffee.
Have you tried the peppermint lip balm?
Oh, that is very fantastic.
I haven't, because my lips are obscured by this mask.
Oh, well, after a
It
long
would
day,
be very painful.
after a long fight as a luchador, which I clearly am, I like to use the pine tar soap, and then after, take my beard and use the beard balm.
Bomb.
Yes, that's right.
I wondered what would break first, your accent or your body. Wash.
Well, I know you don't know much about this, and neither do I, because none of us have hair, but the Noble Selves hair styling cream is very nice.
Hello, Borat Bane. The Great Lakes Grooming Company makes their products to be easy and ready to use, rain or shine. In fact, one of you Gotham citizens has the trigger for their products.
I wouldn't know about this shine because I was born into darkness.
Now I'm getting confused. All their products are purposefully designed and environmentally responsible.
Oh, is that handmade here in Canada?
Yes, here.
If
in
that's
Canada.
where we might be. You can tell by my Canadian accent.
It's ready for adventure wherever we might find ourselves.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, what if I was a listener to this podcast?
You would consider yourself lucky. Your punishment must be more severe because you get 10% off Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products by going to their website.
Oh, what might be this domain you speak of?
GreatLakesGrooming.com and use the promo code DRDC Podcast.
Yes, that's right, my friends. It's a www. This Bane is having a hard time speaking, even though he's got a thing specifically to help his breathing.
Caught in my mask.
That's www.greatlakesgrooming.com.
This promo is yours, Gotham.
That's right. Stay thirsty, my friends.
And now, back to the show.
I'm Batman.
Sure. And we're back.
Hey.
Do we have to be?
Yes. Where are we heading?
We're heading to Twitterville.
Oh, to the Twitter.
Do you do some speed during the break?
Twitter.
Nice.
So, Stump Chunkman has a question for us.
Stump Chunkman. Bleh.
He can't appreciate it.
I think he would.
I think the Mark Millar Superman story is a pretty good example of destiny. No?
So, Mark Miller, who maybe is...
So hold on though. Is he? I don't know how Twitter works anymore because apparently I don't use it. But is that no question, Mark? Or is that just no as a question?
He didn't write question mark as words. Why would it be no question
Well, you have
mark?
limited characters to use. I figured he was trying to, use them all.
Well, you have 280 characters now.
Oh,
'cause,
shit.
yeah.
You read a
Is
book.
that why?
Yeah.
I was wondering why I could suddenly write way more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, wow, 140 goes a long way
I
now.
just was like,
Twitter realized they're like, maybe 140 wasn't enough to give the president of the United States a platform to be a total douchebag online. Let's give him some more.
Something more long form.
Yes.
Let's let him really talk this one.
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
So Mark Miller is maybe best known
Is
as
that Millar?
sure, as the writer of things like Kick-Ass, Kingsman.
Millar World.
Yeah.
Kick-Ass Kingsman.
Or yeah,
Great
the
crossover.
inevitable crossover, Kick-Ass Kingsman, yeah. But he also wrote a ton of stuff for Marvel and DC. He's written a few different Superman like stories. Some of them have been as part of the Superman Adventures comic, which was the comic book that took place in the animated universe. And then he also, he's written on a bunch of things. I believe the story that Stump is referencing
That's
is
Mr. Chunkman to you.
yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. Chunkman. I believe he's referencing Superman Red Sun, which is an Elseworld story that basically, instead of landing in Kansas, Kal-El, as a baby, lands in like Soviet-occupied Czechoslovakia or something like that, or like Ukraine, and then he's raised under the Soviet Union.
Oh, Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine is strong.
It's very nice.
So in that story, Superman is he's not evil. He's still good, but because he grows up under this like communist totalitarian regime, he has a slightly different set of values. He is trying to do what he believes is best for humanity, but he does like lobotomized dissidents and things like that. In that world, Batman is like a Russian freedom fighter whose parents were killed by the government. Like it's a whole different world. And Lex Luthor is the president of the United States and eventually defeats Superman and like frees the world of his growing like totalitarianism by basically reminding him that he couldn't save the bottle city of Kandor, and he says, are you just going to put the whole world in a bottle? And Superman realizes you have to let people live their own lives. It's a story about like free will, about letting people chart their own course. But what's interesting is the end of that story shows over the course of like thousands and millions of years, the trajectory of civilization after that moment. So it talks about how Lex Luthor becomes like a global hero because he saved the day, and then all this technological progress happens and blah, blah, blah. And you're being told this from Superman's perspective because he's sort of immortal and just sort of withdraws from the world and watches what it comes up with. And over the years, because Lex is so famous and revered and names with L's become very popular. And what's basically eventually implied when you get far enough in the future, the last name L, the family name L, is derivative from Luthor, and that in the future, a baby is sent not through space, but through time. And that's Kal-El, that he is like sent then back through time. So instead of being launched from Krypton with a red sun across space to Earth, he's launched basically from a future Earth back in time to Earth, which is weird.
I don't want no ghosts.
Well, it's weird and ironic because it's a story about charting your own course and about allowing humanity to have its own free will and do its own thing. But then at the end of it, it says that the whole thing was like a time loop, basically. Like, we get through everything they built as a free society, and then we end up with Superman being, like, landing in Soviet Ukraine again. So, yeah, Miller's story, in a way, I think... it's not the sort of fate or destiny that is like spiritual. It's not that it's like the way God designed it. It's that sort of like, I don't know if you'd call it like an existential determinism kind of thing. It's like, yeah.
What would you call it then?
Well, I think it's that, like, it's the idea that like you have free will, you have choices.
Most of the time,
you'll make whatever choice you're going to make.
Yeah, I'm an asshole like that.
But why do you end up making the choice you make?
I don't know, just to see what people will do.
Right. But the reason that you do that is because of all of the causes and effects that came before that. So in a way...
I do like bad jokes. That's not me, though.
What?
Yeah.
I shouldn't have turned to you.
But hey, that was all the shit that happened before that made you make that choice.
I know. I was completely out of control there.
Yeah, you lost it.
Yeah.
Now
Damn
I'm
you.
in control.
Existential determinism.
Now it's free will's time.
Now I am the captain.
Hey, look at me.
So I think you could make the argument that Red Sun, that universe, which is still like canonical, it's part of the multiverse. I think you could make the argument that the Red Sun universe actually is based in some form of fate or predestiny. Maybe not every single action is mapped out, but because it sort of exists in that time loop, I think that's an actual like strong argument you could make. Now, how that applies to like the Prime continuity, that's tough. Like, are there
That's
Earths?
continuity prime to you.
Does that mean that there are Earths in the multiverse that are free will and others that aren't? Maybe. But if God exists, and we know that God does in DC, then God is outside the multiverse. So why don't all of the Earths that work that way? Maybe they all do, but we don't see the strings as clearly as we do with the Red Sun universe. Yeah, I think that Red Sun is making the case for some form of fate or destiny. Maybe not that, yeah, everything is mapped out, that you have no choice, so that there's no point in trying, but that there's some sort of symbolic or an element of like certain big pieces have to happen. Lex has to save the day. Superman has to be sent back in time. Like, those things are key and static and immovable. And then the sort of finer points of the trajectory of like the human race is a little bit different. But yeah, I hope that did it. Yeah.
Oh, it did it. Did it everywhere. Anyways, moving to the next question.
I can't believe that when I have something to say, that's when everyone talks. And as soon as I'm done talking, there's this fucking silence. It's insane.
It's almost like it's going to make you crazy.
Lose your goddamn
There's no going to.
So Talking Superman asks, I was leaning towards no free will since Earth 33 and comic creators are canonically part of the multiverse. Now I feel like I remember an issue that suggested our imaginations are products of other Earths.
Right.
Are we talking this Morrison shit?
Yeah, I mean, you're...
All right, crossing that one off the list.
Bye! If only we could time loop it, you wouldn't ask that question. Yeah, so we, unfortunately for Colin, we are going a little bit into Morrison territory.
Smoke break!
So Earth 33 is our world, the real world. It's the world on which Ultra...
On MTV?
It's the world on which Ultra Comics exists, which
Oh.
Colin loved.
Loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Love that shit.
Listen to episode 8.
Love that shit. It's so
God,
hot.
is that fire back? Jeez.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
I don't know why I did that so early on.
Mhm.
Like, you know what'll get the listeners in? Just picking a weird fucking comic and having Colin swear for 40
Yeah,
minutes.
exactly.
But yeah, so Earth 33 is the real world.
Great TV show.
And it is, yeah, the mad real world, to quote the Chappelle Show sketch.
Things start getting real.
What's their tagline for that? It's so stupid. It's like, when people stop being
Something.
nice and polite and they start getting real.
Yeah,
Like, it's
something.
so
I actually
bad.
never watched the real world.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Real World Road Rules?
Was it like a road trip?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they took
I
members
also
from
didn't
Real
watch
World
that,
cast
yeah.
and put them on a road. Missed out, man.
Sorry. Yeah.
Big Brother? No.
No, not even Big Brother.
Toads.
Solid.
But Earth 33 is actually part of the DC multiverse. So, part of the fabric of the multiverse, which was like established back in the Silver Age in Flash number 123, which is the Flash of Two Worlds, is the idea that like the comic books on one Earth give you a window into the real events of a different one. So there's some, the idea is that whatever sort of plane of reality or existence your imagination operates on, like subconsciously taps into the actual events that transpire on a parallel Earth. So on Earth 33, on our Earth, we get the comic books that are showing us things that happen in the Marvel universe, the DC universe, et cetera, et cetera. On Earth, 23 with President Superman, he has read like a Captain Carrot comic, and that's Earth 26, and they've read about Earth 2 or whatever. There's kind of like an infinite loop of things that way. So we're part of that. And because our comic book creators are on our Earth, then you can make the argument that because we're the ones in command of those stories, that there can't be free will on any of those other Earths.
That's true.
Unless you go the step further and think that even in our case, maybe these Earths are real and we're getting the subconscious, like hints of actual events on other Earths, and that we're just the vessels through which real stories are being told.
So, I know everybody loves when I do this.
Yeah, let's
Which
do it.
reminds me of an episode, or reminds me of a lot of Supernatural.
Let's do it. All right, let's have it.
One of the things that Supernatural does is they have the like sort of the speaker of God, that basically the guy who writes all of like the literature for when all these crazy things happen.
Okay.
And so, but the way that they do in modern times is they have it as as like a novel series.
Okay.
And so and it sort of blurs a line of like what is already predetermined and like what.
Right.
That's really good.
Interesting.
So,
How far into Supernatural is that?
That comes in pretty early, like season 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right on.
It's really good.
Interesting. Yeah, so I mean, it does sound similar in many ways. So I think you could look at it one of two ways. Earth 33 is sort of singled out as maybe being an actual origin point for some of these stories. So you could maybe say that then it's predestined in the DC universe because we're the ones in control.
Mm-hmm.
The step beyond that is that if we have free will on our own Earth, then that also carries on. Like, it's predestined in terms of we're the ones writing the stories, but we don't know where the stories are going to go. So they could still go anywhere. It's just they're not the ones in control of them. So that's not free will for them. It's free will for us.
Yeah.
Or you could do full free will that we're all just free willing together in the multiverse.
Free Willin' and Dylan, you know how we do.
And we're all just concurrently writing stories about each other. So we're just recording the free will as it happens.
Richard likes to write stories about you, that's for sure.
I know.
Hey,
I
we're
wish
supposed
I
to know
hadn't.
about those.
I wish I hadn't opened that folder.
No dice.
That was a bit of a Pandora's box, I feel.
Reality fan fiction.
Except it was called
yeah.
Reed's box. I mean, Doctor's box. Damn it!
Oh,
Son of a bitch! You got me doing
It's called Doc Box.
Doc's
Oh,
box.
that's so much funnier than what I
Yeah,
said.
you suck.
Yeah, you were really good at that. Congratulations.
But yeah, so where are we at right now? I said free will
Is dead.
on Chad Bokelman's question.
Bogle.
I said like fate on Stump Chunkman's. I'm actually gonna say free will on Talking Superman.
Wow, it counts at a 2 and a 1.
And I
going
think,
into the 4th inning of the 5 period.
I think the
hockey
issue that
playoff.
Talking Superman is referring to, I think the Multiversity 1 or 2 explicitly states that the comic books are windows into other realities. And I think the Multiversity Guidebook #1 also does. But this is a precedent that was set back in the Silver Age in Flash 123 as well. That Barry Allen read Jay Garrick Flash stories and then meets him on Earth 2. So that's a thing that existed all the way back in the 60s. It's a story conceit that is carried forward from there.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Dave Rossi.
All right.
I think /Hope Doomsday Clock will partly address this issue. Until then, wouldn't the Book of Oa make a case for the predestined shenanigans?
Ooh, that's a man after Chad Bokelman's heart.
Shenaniganizers.
So, yeah, Dave Rossi is bringing up Doomsday Clock because this is the series in which Dr. Manhattan is involved, and he's been tinkering with the DC universe. We still don't know too much about how that's happened because only 3 issues have come out so far. So it's entirely possible that we'll learn that because he's been messing with reality, there's some element of things happening that are not just because of the free will of the characters in the DC universe. I think the only counterpoint to that is that if Dr. Manhattan was actually in full control, no one would even found out about it. And so many sort of pieces of that facade have cracked that I suspect that's not the case, but there's an argument to be made in there. The Book of Oa, if we flash back to the Green Lantern crossover episode we did with the guys from the Lantern cast, they did discuss the Book of Oa. It's basically like, in some versions, it's an actual literal book that records every event in the history of the universe. It is the knowledge upon which any Green Lantern can draw, basically. And in some cases, it has like knowledge of the future, but that gets into slightly murky territory. I would say the Book of Oa isn't like hard and fast proof of future events being like solidified. I do think there's maybe an aspect of because everything's cause and effect. I think there's maybe an aspect of like like the scientific side of things, that maybe there is a very accurate mathematical guess or mathematical destination for certain events because of everything that came before it. And because they're the Guardians and because it's the Green Lantern Corps, there's the actual maybe computing power to process all of those variables and sort of accurately predict the future. But I don't know that that's the same thing as there being a path laid out and you can't do anything to change it. And I think ultimately in any Green Lantern story, like Chad had mentioned in his question, if there is like a destiny or whatever, the climax of the book is that they're Green Lanterns and they say the oath and they're channeling their willpower and like, fuck destiny. They just do whatever the hell they want anyway, right? And they change something, or it still kind of happens, but not the way it was told to them, or something like that. I don't think the Book of Oa is hard and fast proof. I don't even think Dr. Manhattan is full on fatalism. I actually think as far as the Green Lantern Corps goes, anything involving them, it tends to be on the side of willpower.
Great race car driver. So Eats and Snacks podcast has a question. They go,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
He just read E and S and just assumed.
Oh, it just filled it in.
Eats and Snacks.
Eats and snacks?
They say
Those are different.
Do you know what it is?
I don't actually.
Earth
So you don't know he's wrong. Do you?
Do you not know the Eats and Snacks podcast? It's like my favorite podcast.
It's the ENS podcast.
Yeah.
Make it what you will, I guess.
Eats and Snacks podcast.
The doctor wrote these down, so I don't know what an ENS stands for.
I should remember, but I don't, unfortunately.
Did you abbreviate it and then forget it?
I did, yeah.
Oh, no.
So it's Eats and Snacks the podcast.
All right.
Yeah. They go, I want to say free will because of the nature of free will versus fate. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a vaguely worded
Podcast name. Yeah, you're right.
I was gonna say it's a vaguely worded statement. I think they just mean generally they want to say free will because
They definitely
that's,
opened with,
well, it's like that's a better thing to live in. If we're part of the DC multiverse and we're trying to decide whether or not it's governed by fate or free will, like what would you rather? Like if you
I don't
actually
really give a shit, man. I just want to find some barbecue.
What?
what?
Yeah, all I'm saying is, come on.
Huh?
Ah,
You really love that movie.
I do. It's a good one. There's a part where they're fighting over the t-shirt design, and the bass player goes, "I don't care about, man. I just want some barbecue."
Do you know when they're driving the bus out of that one venue and they're trying to like, and the guy goes, "Lock the gates."
Yeah, and he's like, "You just bought a gate."
You know who that is?
No,
This is Mark Maron.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, he says it it's in the beginning intro to his podcast.
oh.
Mark
During the
Maron
song.
was that guy.
That's that guy. Yeah,
The dude like Tai Chi fights.
he was like, "Lock the gates." That's Mark Maron.
Amazing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would turn to drugs and alcohol after that too, I guess.
Okay, on a slight tangent from
Okay.
our almost famous themed episode,
I think you did.
what would you prefer to find out? That your life was governed by free will or by fate? Or does it actually not matter to you?
I don't really give a shit.
Like but like honestly, you
because
don't.
I wouldn't know either way.
Well, no, I'm saying you would know.
Nah, you wouldn't though.
No,
No, the whole point is that you found
no.
out.
In this hypothetical, I'm posing you find out. So you can't argue that. What do you prefer?
I
Jesus.
prefer to not find out. I don't know.
Richard, why don't you play this game since Colin doesn't know what Improv
don't
101
do it, man.
is?
Don't do it. This is just a bunch
Can
of
we-
hocus pocus.
Before the next episode, can we teach Colin how to yes and?
Yes,
I don't
and
have that
Colin
kind of
will
time.
Continue to answer the questions properly.
I like the idea of fate. As a person who's not necessarily very religious, I still like the idea of it. I like the idea that like things are destined and like things were supposed to happen. And so part of me likes the idea that you're walking a tightrope of fate. That you're allowed to move kind of in and out of it, but
That's not how tight-ropes work.
well, I mean that like
If
that
anything, you shouldn't move
you
at all on a
literally-
tightrope.
sorry, then okay, you're walking like
death.
a very
There's
like
lions there.
That's
you're
what
walking
happened to
a
Dick's
path-
parents.
you're walking a path of fate. You're generally going in the same direction, but you can kind of move in and out of it. But like you're going in the same
Sure.
way. I like the idea that like things were destined to be, because that would mean that your purpose is a little bit greater because things are supposed to happen a certain way.
Well, that's only if it's intelligent.
Yeah,
fate,
what if
not
what if-
just?
What if you're
Yes.
like just another cog in the wheel and you're not supposed to have anything great happen to you?
Yeah,
Uh,
that doesn't?
How do you
bother
feel about that?
That doesn't make you like depressed?
I mean, yeah, I
Well, think about that then.
think we have to end this podcast.
I have to go.
I got some stuff to go through. No,
I've got to go read the Quran.
no,
and
I've
the
got
Bible
way
and
too much. I got
everything
way too big of an ego to think that. But
Yeah, but what if though?
I think in this
You
version,
can't-
he's
I like
saying-
that he can't
no.
do a yes and, but he can do what if.
I think he's saying that he likes the idea of fate because he believes himself to be the puppet master.
I mean,
He thinks he's the guy deciding the fate, which is not what I asked.
Because realistically speaking, if Murphy's law kind of falls true, I would be the one deciding fate for everybody.
oh dear God, we're all doomed.
Yeah, so maybe just go with free will.
Yeah,
instead.
free
Call
will
a
it
day.
is.
I mean, I would certainly. There's something comforting about fate. It's like the safety net. I would prefer. I think ultimately free will, even though it's terrifying and isolating.
Yes,
I think
much like life.
and this podcast.
Yeah, but it's see, and this is where like my logic and sense comes in with you idiots, is that it's like it's definitely a nurture versus nature thing, and you both look in different directions. That's hilarious. Because you definitely need to have both of those in play, and I think that that's why it walks, as Richard so eloquently put out, it walks as tightrope, where is it one or is it the other? It never kind of gets decided either way because it's so important that both are in play.
Wait, you mean both
Hmm.
fate and free will?
are at play.
Okay, so now
Because
is this like
all
the
of
sort
these
of thing that we've
characters, all these characters make up their own minds on what is quote unquote right and what is quote unquote wrong.
Oh, everybody, deep thought columns.
Here we go.
showing up.
Yeah, let's do it.
They
Everyone's
get to
favorite
make those
character.
free will decisions, but within the fate of their
Much
existences,
like social justice column, deep thought column.
I don't shit on social justice Colin. I like social justice Colin.
Yeah. It's just hard to see him from way up there.
my horse is quite high.
No, I want to hear where this goes though. Finish this thought.
I feel like all these characters, based on the fact that they are not just simply cogs in a wheel, they're actually destined to be great or horrible in their own special way, but they do get moments of free will within it to kind of create, expand, or diminish on what their fate is supposed to be.
So is this the idea that we sort of started talking about when we were talking about Superman Red Sun, that maybe like
I don't know, I was
The-
probably asleep when that happened.
Jesus, I'm giving you an opportunity to sound like you were paying attention. But like the idea that like the big points of your destiny are maybe relatively concrete, but the exactly how you get there is maybe a little more fluid. There's
Yeah, you know-
room for input.
Kind of like normal life.
Well, I don't know that I believe that about normal life. But...
Well, you're born and then you get to die, and the rest is just
sorry,
up to you.
so you right? Okay, I think I was thinking more about like your destiny, like what you do with your life, as opposed to like I know I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, that's what you're doing with your life at the end.
dying.
Yeah, so getting there is the fun part.
My God, is this how you live?
Every single day.
You wake up every day and you're like, I'm on my way to death.
I do some really fun stuff with my life, though.
I feel like every time we get into like sincere Colin, he says something like super insightful, and I'm so
Deep thought
glad,
Colin,
and I'm
but
so
yeah.
glad that he said it. And then I ask one too many questions, and
There
I
is no
get
such thing as
so
sincere
sad. Just
Yeah.
the saddest I could be.
Well, don't pull what's the thing? The sweater? Don't pull the
Don't
thread?
pull the thread. Yeah.
Or else you just stand outside naked and it's -40.
Wait, were you only wearing a sweater?
So anyways, we're going to go over to emails.
Check the emails.
Clay with a K. Clay with the
Clay.
I'm glad you said that 4 times.
Yeah. If there were...
Otherwise, it would have been Clay.
I don't get it.
Welcome to Krusty's Comedy Classic.
If there are characters named Dr. Fate and Dr. Destiny,
Dr. Fate.
then doesn't that kind of prove that those things exist?
Oh, Dr. Fate.
It's an interesting.
Oh, come on, Dr. Fate.
Clay with the mic drop.
It's an interesting question. Except the short answer is that both Doctors Fate and Destiny don't really wield those things.
Oh,
Dr. Fate.
Clay.
Actually, that worked really well. I like that. Dr. Fate gets his powers from the Lords of Order. That's not the same as Fate, like in terms of everything being 100% predestined. It's just about like keeping things, it may be sort of the way that you've described how fate and free will might work together, keeping things just relatively on track. But there are also out there Lords of Chaos who are out to disrupt it. So by the very nature of those two things existing, it means there isn't just one way something could play out. If the Lords of Chaos win at any one point, then the whole plan, whatever that fate was, no longer is. So then it was never really fate in the first place.
But it sure seemed like that was the case at one time.
Well, yeah,
For
exactly.
sure.
No, it's
Hard fate.
It's a matter of like perspective, basically. Dr. Destiny is a character that like kind of like invades like dreams and is magic based and things like that. But actually, his powers are even further removed from the idea of like actual destiny. He's just like a magic based character. He can invade your dreams, and he's
got really sharp knives for fingers.
Well, and he, you know, wait, no, he's not Freddy Krueger.
Come on, bitch!
Last horse finally crosses the finish line.
I need to get there eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, ironically, that Dr. Fate and Dr. Destiny don't wield those powers. It doesn't mean that they're hard proofs that those things don't exist, but they're certainly not hard proofs that they do. There's one thing that hasn't come up that as we were building like the theme for this, I knew I wanted to talk about it. It's a very weird character. We're going back to Mark Millar and cover your ears, Grant Morrison. It's a character from the 90s called Aztec, the Ultimate Man.
Ultimate Warrior.
Aztec is a guy who goes by either Uno or Kurt Falconer. But he gets...
Oh, I love Faulkner.
He gets his powers from this helmet. It's the helmet of Quetzalcoatl, which is like an Aztec god.
Whoa.
And it's passed down from the Q Foundation, which is the Quetzalcoatl Foundation. It's sort of like imbued with like high technology, but also like spiritual powers from this god. And basically each generation they pick an Aztec, an ultimate man, to wield this power, and they get like enhanced strength and energy projection, and also
I totally just got it.
They get like the knowledge of
He's got
every
a technology helmet. His name, and he's an Aztec.
Yeah, Aztec. Yeah.
It's like as fuck. Except for Aztec.
No, that's the opposite of the revolution.
He's tech as fuck.
You put the emphasis on the as.
Yeah.
It's more about the tech.
Yeah.
At any rate, he also gets all of like the memories and everything from the previous wearers of the helmet. But their mission, the reason they pass this mantle on, is that one day the shadow god Tezcatlipoca is going to return, and Quetzalcoatl's champion has to fight and defeat Tezcatlipoca. So what happens to Aztec is in the middle of this event where this being called Mageddon is...
Oh my god, he has an upload that needs to happen and then he loses.
No, he's not like updating. He's not getting the new QuickTime or something.
Flash needs to be updated again.
Yeah. It's like, come on. Can
a guy just watch a porn at pace?
But Mageddon is this sort of like alien entity that comes and is about to destroy the Earth and everything like that.
Is he arm or leg?
Well, just wait.
I was thinking, I was like, well, what's the joke?
And Kurt Falconer, Aztec, sees Mageddon as the return of the shadow god Tezcatlipoca, and he sacrifices himself to deal like a fatal blow to Mageddon. And in the end, they defeat Mageddon. That thing was defeated, and you could say he fulfilled his destiny.
But all that's left is an arm.
But my point is, he fulfilled his destiny because he fought a shadow god and won. But we don't know for sure that was Tezcatlipoca. Like, literally the next week, Tezcatlipoca could show up, and they'd be like, hey, where's Aztec? And they'd be like,
Oh, God, he got scared of his own shadow when he exploded.
So there's something in the story of Aztec that is, like, we kind of make our own destiny. Like, they there's this prophecy that, he has to fight a shadow god, but he's the one that ultimately decides when that is, what that sacrifice is, when it's going to make the most good or the biggest impact. He does fulfill a long-standing prophecy, but there's no way to know for sure that that was the incident. Like any other, you could also, like, shadow god could mean anything, right? Like anyone that shows up in like a black robe, you could be like, are you the shadow god? Like,
Sure.
there's an aspect of interpretation,
Sure,
right?
same here.
And this is the thing with religion and belief and spirituality, is there's interpretation involved too. So I think this is the ultimate cop-out answer. I think there is an element of destiny in DC Comics, but I think it's largely free will, and that you fulfill your destiny only by making a choice that you think gets you there, right? For those people that are sort of aware of what their destiny is, they could never know 100% for sure if it's the right moment, but they do it anyway and sort of fulfill it as a result. You know, like it's kind of like a blend of those two things, but it's mostly free will, I would argue. Thoughts?
Yeah, I already said that, so that covers mine.
Is that
Richard, you?
I think, I mean, it's hard because, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's all like written just off of the top of somebody's head.
No, it's real.
But
maybe you weren't listening when I said that we're part of the multiverse.
I was here for the don't listen to this podcast.
And you never did again.
I know, yeah, I know. But keeping that in mind, I mean, if our existence is pre-written, then that's not necessarily pre-written. It's all destiny. So I'm going to say it is fate.
Ooh. So Colin had blend. I said blend, but mostly free will, and you said fate.
Yeah.
So basically, we came into this episode not knowing and not taking a stance, and we've exited this episode not knowing and not taking a stance.
Except for me.
Yeah, you took a hard stance.
I meant like collectively, like
Oh,
as a group.
Well, as the producer, he could just change what you said.
I think we're both comfortable enough with Richard's producing style to know he's not going to change anything that was
That's
said
true. I
here
would have to
today.
edit something to be able to edit anything.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, those are some great great questions this episode.
Those were some great episodes. We're done.
Yeah, this podcast is
Hanging
over.
it up.
Thanks, guys. That was fun.
If you guys wanted to send in your own questions for things that we might post to Twitter,
You could hit us up on Twitter
At Dr. DC.
on Facebook
Dr. DC Podcast.
and our email.
DrDCPodcast@gmail.com.
Go like the picture of me with the penis paper at.
Dr. DC Podcast?
yep,
Is that
it's-
on Instagram?
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget to check out the website
DrDCPodcast.com or .ca.
and wherever you get your podcasts or you stream Taylor Swift songs, you can catch us at.
We're on Apple, Google Play, Spotify, Libsyn, and streaming on our website as well.
the Spotify thing has been really awesome because
Yeah.
I'm a Spotify subscriber, so it's been super fun.
Yeah, it's tight.
Very nice.
All right.
Some kind of sign.
Adios.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, it's Dr. DC. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Aquaman, all the superheroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
I just want to fuck you so bad, brother.